of it, make a good meal of it, stick to your old-fashioned beer. Now don't be afraid of it, drink till you're made of it. Now all together a cheer.
Hey beer fans, it's Mark McDermott here once again, your one-take beer reviewer and online at beeronaut.com, here with part 2 of my extravaganza exploration of the 4 available beers from Chimay, Trappist brewery in Belgium. And again, these have been sent to me by their American representatives for my perusal and for the hope that I'm going to do this for them. And I also said I wanted to get this out in time for Belgium's Independence Day, which is, or rather they call it National Day, perhaps, on July 21st. They declared independence from the Netherlands in 1830. So we've already blown through the Chimay Gold, their table beer, Chimay White, Sans, their Belgian triple, and we're going back to the Chimay Rouge, Red Rouge, or also called the Chimay Premier, which has the red label, and this is considered an Abbey double style. It was one of their first commercially made beers, started back in 1862, and as opposed to the triple that was a lot lighter and looks more like a regular beer, only stronger perhaps, this one should be turning out a little more dark and with some more spice and such to it. Now, one thing about Belgian beers or other beers that have been re-fermented with the addition of yeast in the bottle is that you do run across the chance of a gusher. I'm standing by with a puny little napkin here and hoping I don't have that issue. But I kept all my computer keyboards away. Here we go, yes. And one thing I've noticed about these lovely glasses that come with the Chimay gift pack is that they now have a little fleur-de-lis engraved in the bottom. It's a nucleation site, just like in other beer glasses, and that helps a column of bubbles to form. And this one is pouring out very nicely. Ah, yes. A nice Trappist glass, and as we can see, that is, oh, there's the camera. I keep looking at the TV behind me, the monitor behind me. That is a nice deep rich brown color, and it kicks up a nice head. I'm just so excited to be pouring this stuff as we wait for this to settle. Yes, I was just reading an article on, I believe it was Men's Journal Online, of the 10 best beer blogging review YouTube sites, of which I'm not one. And one of the things they mention is that brewers really don't have time to look at those sites, first off because they take too long. And for me, the previous review to cover 2 beers took me 10 minutes. So let's try to cut back on this and just get it in here. It has a very spicy smell from the start. You can see the head's a little spongier and foamier, perhaps you can see that. Yeah, there is a little bit of fruit and spice to it that would seem to come mostly from the yeast. Settles in very nicely. It might not be as complex now as it would be if it sat down for a couple of years, and I do have a much older bottle, I believe a 2007, in my cellar, just waiting for goodness knows what anymore. Start to pick up a bit of a cola impression, but this has kind of been chased away now. We have some coriander perhaps, and I don't think any of this was added. It's not actual spice. I think it all comes from the yeast and the re-fermentation. But this has had a slightly warm ferment, and it's interesting because on this guide sheet that they send us, each one of these beers has a different recommended serving temperature. This one is recommended for 50 to 54 degrees Fahrenheit, while the Golden should be served at 39 to 46 degrees Fahrenheit, and who really follows those? But again, this is a very this has a lot of character to it, and a little bit of spiciness and complexity, and a little bit more aromatics in the malt. So it's a very good beer to go with Belgian cheese. And yes, they sent some information on the cheeses made by the monks at Chimay, but I don't know if we can get too many of that here. At least they're not going to send me any. But it also sits pretty lightly on the palate and on the stomach as a Belgian beer goes. So it would be good for a summertime visit to a Belgian Independence Day celebration. And we will be finishing this, and we'll come right back after I pick out a nice wipe dissolve and do one more beer, the Chimay Blue. And thank you, me from the past. Well, it's day 4 of our special trip through the tulips of the Chimay brewery, and well, it's a tulip-shaped glass after all. And we have finally reached the pièce de résistance, the Chimay Blue, or the Grand Reserve. This is listed even by the brewers as a Belgian strong ale. It is, like all of them, re-fermented, not pasteurized, so there's a bit of yeast and sugar added to it. And this is at 9%. It's the strongest one that they make for regular sale, and so it's the one that they most recommend laying down and cellaring. Regrettably, I don't have the wherewithal to cellar this, so we'll just have to talk about it fresh here. Oh, I have to pour it in front of the camera after all. So like the double, it has a nice dark malt look, even a little darker, I think, than the double. Kind of a brownish to nearly black with a lot of foam this time. There is some banana here from the esters from the re-fermentation, no doubt. And that's the main thing I get just from all of this foam popping up here. Maybe I should just stop taping while I wait for the foam to settle, but like I keep saying, I want to do this all in one take. Again, the fine Trappist beer glass tulip, whatever you want to call it. Yes, there's a brown sugar almost when I first get a batch of the actual beer on my tongue, and something almost meaty to it. I think it's like the umami, that mysterious fifth taste sense of savoriness to it, and you know, that's kind of an addition that makes this really stand out. And there are a couple other beers, mostly in the Belgian style, that I've had that reminded me of it. I think a lot of the dark malts. See, it's a little lighter brown, not too dark in the pour. And of course the extra fermentation, the re-fermentation, and of course some yeast at the bottom. It's going to change the beer over time, so that's why it's a good idea to get a couple of these and cellar them, as I always say. It's a very nice beer to round out our little trip through the, our almost virtual trip through the Trappist brewers of Chimay in Belgium. And if you really want to just, hey, if you have to zero in on one of these beers, of course you would probably start with the Grand Reserve, and but try to pick up any of them because, you know, once again, this month is not only American Independence Day, but further down toward the end of the month is the Belgian Independence Day. So, by George, we should be celebrating every country's Independence Day with some of their best-known beers, and maybe we'll get around to that.
Now don't be